7.9 hours, almost 8 hours. I got it at 3 hours, a little over 3, so put almost 5 hours on there. You got your parking brake here. Got your deck adjustment right here. Goes up to 4.5 versus the grandstand goes up to 5, so this stops at 4.5. But that's typically what you need in a lot of cases, in the backyards especially. But it goes all the way down there. You just take the pin out, pull this up here, catches on this. So it's either two-handed or one-handed. Put your foot here. So you lift this, and you just kick that up, and you let it go, and it goes to the setting that you have the pin at, which I have 4. And then when you want to raise it back up, you just raise it up for that to catch right there, and then you're up here at 4.5. You got bar and covers, everything protecting the belts and the engine and everything from banging into stuff, going under trees and all that. You have the weight kit over the front wheels when you use the Sulky. Here's the Toro branded Sulky right here. It's their own brand that they came out with for here. It's got a handle to use it to pick it up, do whatever. It's easy, quick release down here. See if I can do it with one hand. You just pull this back, and then it comes down like that. You just pull this pin out, and then this flips around for you to stand on and go. And then obviously when you're done, you flip it back around, put the pin in. It's a magnetic pin to keep it in place. And here's the latch that I unlatched right here. It clips in right here. So you just again grab this handle, pull this up, and it just clicks right in. So it's relatively simple. You know, I've used other brand Sulkies that aren't Toro brand for my walk behind mower and everything, and this isn't too far off from that. But I like how you don't have to have any chains hanging from anywhere holding it up or anything. It just all latches in down there. So that I do like, and it is easy enough to unhook, to just, you know, unlatch that and latch it back up. So I do appreciate that. But there are some other things that could be a little bit better as far as when it spins around, flips around. Seems like some of the other branded Sulkies do a better job. They're positioned differently back here, like up a little bit higher, so there's more of a pitch. So when you're backing up, the wheels swing around perfectly fine without getting caught up under here, where these kind of get jammed up sometimes, especially with this extra stuff down here, right? The spring, can we get in there? This spring under here, which is all for the latching mechanism, that gets caught up in the wheels too when it spins around to go in reverse and then go forward. Always gets banged up there, whether you're on the slightest incline or not. Obviously steep inclines, that's going to happen, but it has to be perfectly flat terrain for it to flip around perfectly fine. And we all know that that's very hard to find any yards that are perfectly flat. So that's something that I'm not really too excited about with that. Maybe they'll adjust that somehow, raise that up or something. But other than that, the whole latching and unlatching is super convenient, much better than a chain hanging down here, and then when it's not on, it's banging around and dangling and stuff, and, you know, scratching all this up wherever you have it hanging, and makes things all rusted up. You got to keep repainting it. So I like that mechanism for sure. So my first impressions of the new Toro walk-behinds, this is the 36-inch deck. It goes all the way up to the 60-inch deck, which is new. Their Hydro walk-behind, their previous Hydro walk-behind line didn't have a 60-inch deck, so now this new reinvented walk-behind does have a 60-inch deck. So that's going to benefit the people that are looking for a 60-inch deck Hydro walk-behinds. And what I was told by my Toro rep was that one of the reasons why they redid the walk-behinds were so that they could offer them at a more affordable rate. So the original Hydro walk-behinds were super heavy duty. They were basically a grandstand without the platform. I mean, obviously there was some differences, but it was super heavy duty, turbo force deck, very heavily constructed, and the price point showed how heavy duty it was, and it really wasn't much of a difference between getting a Hydro walk-behind or a grandstand. So a lot of people were just bumping up to the grandstand. So Toro was trying to fit that market of people that can't afford or don't want to spend the amount for a grandstand but want to walk behind and want to be able to afford it. So it's just more in their budget. Still heavy duty, still commercial grade, warranties, all that. Again, I'll put the link in the description for Toro's website. You can check out the whole new line of their Toro walk behinds, the Pro line. You can look at all the different deck sizes that they offer, all the different specs, engine sizes, all that. I'm not going to go into any of that. I just wanted to talk about briefly my experience with the 36-inch, which is what I would be looking for because I have a lot of small gated backyards, and that's why I was very happy that he had the 36-inch, which happened to be the only demo that he had, so it worked out. I will say that, like I was talking about the Sulky, I would imagine the bigger decks make the mower heavier, therefore they're less back heavy. Because of how small this mower is, it likes to pop wheelies constantly because it's just so light. Even with the weight kit on there in the front, it still just isn't enough. Honestly, I was taking the Sulky off when I had slopes so that it wouldn't pop up as easily when I was walking behind it. You know, the Sulky definitely comes in handy if you've got bigger backyards or just bigger yards in general that you want to use it on, or you want to transport, you know, further down the back and forth the street or whatever. But honestly, I'd rather just take this off personally for the 36-inch and just literally walk behind it to the yard and using it on the yard and so on, versus worrying about that extra weight back there and popping it up all the time. Because with that being said, this is a good mower for slopes. As we all know, walk behinds are good mowers for slopes because you just have more control. Your weight isn't on the mower like the stand on or a sit down zero turn, so there's less of that. Plus you can easily maneuver yourself, the mower. You can bail out a lot quicker and easier and avoid a lot of catastrophes from happening. So walk behinds are definitely much more versatile for slopes and for just various situations that you might be more hesitant to use a bigger mower like a stand-on or a sit-down. So that's another reason why I was looking at the walk behinds. Last year I was looking at different stand-on gate mowers like the 36-inch grandstand that Toro makes, as well as the 42-inch right intensity stand-on mower. I didn't really like how those were on slopes because they were also so small and light. They just kind of slid down when you try to, you know, maneuver around certain slopes, and that's dangerous for me. I've got a lot of yards with some slopes that could be very dangerous if you don't have the right mower and you're not really comfortable using, you know, mowing on those slopes and so on. So this actually is the best bet that I have from my belt drive 48-inch walk behind, which I can use that perfectly fine on any slope, but it just doesn't have the great controls because it's belt drive, right? So it's not hydro where you can just go back and forth a lot easier and turn a lot better and do your 3-point turns and all that. You know, you have to really muscle it, you know, to avoid switching gears or just switch gears and all that stuff. So hydro is definitely a lot more intuitive and easier for you to use in any circumstances. So I really wanted to look at the hydro walk behind line, and Toro just happened to come out with new ones, so I really wanted to check that out. So these also have bigger tires. These tires are bigger than the tires on my 48-inch belt drive walk behind. Now granted, that's super heavy duty, turbo force deck, it's built, heavily constructed, and that's an example of what I was talking about a few minutes ago, that they were built at a high level and the price showed that. So they're trying to lower the price by lowering some of the components, not making it as heavy duty, but still commercial grade and heavy duty enough to get the job done that you're typically going to use a walk behind for. So I definitely liked it. And for what I need it for personally for my business, smaller backyards, gated backyards, and even some slopes in the front, you know, the 36-inch deck can still make some quick work of those bigger yards, bigger front yards that are sloped. You know, I've heard some mixed opinions about this whole kind of two-step process with the deck height adjustment, but this, if you just get the hang of it and know that you just have to, the easiest way is to just lift this up like this and kick that out, and then you're good to go. Obviously you do it, you know, with your right hand, but I'm holding the camera, so when you're up here you do that with your right hand and you're good to go. And when you want to raise it back up, you just lift it up and it catches right on there and you're good to go. So it obviously is different and it takes a little bit of learning curve, but not much. I will also say that the controls are very intuitive. the slightest movements in either direction, maybe also because it's so much smaller. Again, I don't know if the bigger units, the 52-inch, 60-inch, if it moves, if it's less intuitive, less jerky feeling because it's bigger and heavier. But this one, definitely the slightest movements, it's going all over the place, kind of back and forth, and it's hard to kind of keep straight lines at first until you get the hang of it. So, you know, like I said, I put about 5 hours on here, and I definitely got more of a hang of it than I had when I first got it. But it is very intuitive compared to like the grandstand, for example, where this is super, it just reacts very quickly. So that's a little bit of a learning curve that anyone would probably have to adjust to. Even the Toro rep said he had the same experience when he was using it for the first time. So, you know, it's just one of those things that you just have to use. You got the choke, throttle, start key. This is new here. This is the blade engage. So you push this in to engage the blades. One of these levers has to be down in order to do that. Obviously the parking brake has to be off. If the parking brake is off and you take your hands off of both of these controls for more than, I don't know what it is, it seems like more than 5 seconds, the engine cuts off. So, and obviously if the blades are on, you take your hands off, it's going to cut off too. Or you put your parking brake on, it's going to cut the blades off. But if the parking brake off and the blades are on or off, and you take your hands off of this, the whole engine's going to shut down. So just all these extra safety mechanisms that you kind of have to get used to. That's not like that in the grandstand and some other different models, but every model has its own reasons for why they do what they do, so you just got to get used to it and move on. The last thing I'll say, this isn't a turbo force deck, and it's still a heavy duty constructed deck. It still has a nice wide opening here. Haven't had any problems getting grass dispersed out of here, but it is not a turbo force deck, which again saves the cost of the overall unit. But it still cuts great, disperses great. Like I said, it's not, you know, I mean, if you get a 60-inch, you might be a little more particular with some of these things because you're obviously going to be cutting bigger, you know, bigger properties, acres, commercial properties, and so on. And that's where the Sulky will really come in handy for those big units. And like I said, because it's a 60-inch or 52-inch deck, it's probably a lot heavier up front, so you won't have the tipping up, popping wheelie situation that you have, that I have with the 36. So just take everything that I said in this video with the fact that I'm talking about the 36-inch because that's what I would be looking for my business and can utilize for my business. But interpret that in, you know, okay, if the deck gets bigger, some of those things are going to change, maybe improve, or whatever the scenario is. And at the end of the day, just contact your Toro rep, your Toro dealer. They can contact the Toro rep and see what they have in stock to demo so that you can demo it yourself. If it's not the 36-inch, demo the 48 or the 52 or the 60 and see how you like it, if that's the sizes that you need. Thank you guys for checking this video out. Make sure you go ahead and check the playlist for all the rest of my Toro videos that I've been making. I appreciate you guys watching. If this is your first time watching this video, make sure you subscribe, give us a thumbs up, appreciate it. Comment below if you're new. And like I say in all my videos, don't forget to keep trying new things and be a rookie for life. Peace.